Okay, thank you for the sharing about the role of the industry. Is there any additional information from Pak Trias or as a practitioner regarding to the question?
Yeah, it's interesting, and you're right that at the moment drones are very hot topic, and this is not only in the surface, but if we try to come from one city, from one area to the other area, many initiatives, including when we visit in Rio, people on the ground, on the remote areas, are playing with drones. So the access to drones are now becoming very easy. People can replicate from the from the YouTube, and then try to emulate and putting the camera, something like that. So I think I'm not so worried about that, because I'm very optimist about the change that people in the rural areas now also adopting technology very fast. But in relation to the regulation, I try to understand that this is also important, but should not be seen as a limited factor. I know some colleagues, they are working on trying to making schools for drone pilots in rural areas. So that's good. So they are doing participatory mapping with the drones on the rural areas, and I think this is something that a government need to facilitate, because at the same time we need to accelerate the data acquisition about the rural area. So combination between quality assurance, quality control, and security with a mobilization of the schools of drones pilot, for example, can be something should be tried on.
Bagaimana dengan teknologi cube satellite, Pak? Yang selama ini memang ternyata memang sudah open source. It's been promoted by NASA. So actually the OPI, Open Data Initiative, has allowed Google to explore a lot of NASA data.
Sure.
Which is Landsat, still
Yes.
available for everyone to access.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks. I've been exploring Landsat data since 2 years, and I see so many amazing stuff, improving the remote sensing technologies that are able to capture heat, NDVIs, weather, and I think the beautiful part of living in today's world is about co-creation, collaborations. I mean, Indonesian government. I mean, I'm not trying to be criticizing Indonesian government, but how do we understand data? Are we sensitive about data? How about data collaborations? It could give benefits to all mankind. You know, as Google says, don't be evil. But my point is, I don't want to go too far, but cube satellites, the small satellites are doable, and I'm just trying to encourage everybody to pay attention to cube satellites. It does wonders. I mean, Planet Lab, this one Silicon Valley company, has been funded by few venture capitals. I think Lapan is doing the same, but I don't know what's Lapan doing up to date, because I don't have access to information. But I'm a firm believer that cube satellites, it will enhance and it will create our nation into more competitive. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'm agree with that. I agree with. In principle, I don't think we can. In terms of Google Earth Engine, yeah, you mentioned about the Landsat data now becoming open, Sentinel data from ESA becoming open, and it's no wonder that GPS data, geodetic GPS data, becoming open in our Androids very soon, maybe. And I think it can be happen in 5 or 10 years, or maybe sooner. But this aspiration is good. I agree that the culture of data sharing should be embraced again in at least between agencies, between communities, and something that we are missing at the moment. We are still talking about data sharing, one map policy, but in reality, we don't have a good protocol yet. Yeah. And I think the initiative built by BRG, Badan Restorasi Gambut, how to, let's say, consolidate the data, and then after that invite agencies, stakeholders to do the same stage of planning together. It can be a good exercise for that. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, please, Pak.
Because how advanced is this technology for the remote sensing and also the analysis of data through remote sensing. But for the better management of peatland, you still need a ground survey. Why? Because water management, you could not only use that data from remote sensing. You need to really measure how deep is the peatland is, because peatland is biomass. If you do the thing in general and think that every peatland is the same all over Indonesia, then you might end up with a bad planning. For instance, the law requires that peatlands deeper than 3 meters should be conserved or protected as ecosystem services benefits. So if you don't have any technology currently to be able to measure the depth of peatland through remote sensing, the groundwork still required for that. The second is on the protocol, as Pak Trias just mentioned. Even if the government already stipulate that we should have one map policy to avoid any overlapping of permits, any overlapping of land use over the same areas, but still the protocol how to resolve the issues of dispute using the mapping methodology, mapping strategy need to be developed. For instance, the areas that burned last year or the years previously, part of the causes of the fire is because of the conflicts over the land. So participatory mapping is important as using any other remote technology that we have. So I think it's combinations more than one technology is required, without omitting, without overseeing that the ground truthing, the ground survey really still required for that.
Okay, we still have 7 minutes. So if you still have one short question, please. Okay, no more question. Okay, if you have no more question, maybe I would like to come back to PRK. So actually regarding to the role of the government on tackling of the issue and also to handling the data, this is one issue that raised by Pak Trias, actually how to share the data. Actually, what is your strategy to tackle this issue, Pak? Because from BIK, you have the data from BIK, from KLHK, from BPS, Geo-Spatial, and etc. So we have a very our data is very diverse. So what is how to tackle this issue?
To tackle the issue is we should sit together. So we already published the head of BRG's degree on the indicative map for the restorations priority. Those maps developed by sitting together. So every data authority need to sit together and discuss the map and then combine together with the interest of the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, BIG and us as BRG, with the mandate given by the President. We sit together and we map out, not only map in terms of map, Geo-Spatial, but also map upon the responsibility. So who has the who has the programs, and what is the target of the programs, the visions, and so on and so forth, and also who has the responsibility of specific areas. And then we sit together and decide on the which area that should be authorized in the restorations by whom. So who's going to do what, in where, and when. So we have to sit together, not only talking about the map, but also mapping out the authority and also the responsibility of the areas.
Okay, thank you very much. So finally we come up with the end of the session. I would like to thanks for all speakers, Pak Trias, Pak Andi, Pak Paul, our colleague from PRK, Pak Indra Utoyo, and also Ibu Hesti. Thank you very much for sharing, and also to all audience, thank you very much for your attention. I would like to return back to Pak Soeb, who would like to close this all the session for today. Terima kasih, selamat sore. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Pak Danang. We've had a very, I think, interesting dialogue session and on geospatial intelligence. But before we close for the evening, we have a very interesting and a very exciting program. Pak Indra Utoyo, unknown to us, is actually a very prolific writer. And he has just produced his book called Silicon Valley Mindset. And he has very graciously agreed to launch this book at the Indonesia Economic Forum now. So we have a thinker and a writer in our midst. So if you just stay in the room for a little bit more, we will have a short program on the launching of the book. And then, of course, Pak Indra is available to autograph that book. Make sure you keep it because it's going to be very valuable with his signature. So if I may just, maybe I'll just thank the panel first for joining us and for sharing your insights with us. Can I ask Pak Patrick to give away the, to give the mementos? This has been, I think, a very good example of the co-creation and collaboration between SIXCAP and UGM. As you can see, you know, a very heavyweight panel of UGM's best brains on geospatial, and of course, Paul, you know, a young budding CEO, millennial with lots of bright ideas. So, would you like to say something? No? Oh, yes.
It's coming to the end of today. The only thing I can say is thank you all for your patience, endurance, and this is a good example. And SIXCAP is privileged in its third year in Indonesia, Jakarta, that we now partner with University Gadjah Mada in many initiatives. I want to thank the university for this privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the gifts one by one? Yeah. Thank you once again. Please join me in thanking the panel. We have a photo session.